say this is the start. Let's say it's 11:10.
Welcome everybody to the Twin Portals panel of ExcaliburCon.
Woo! Hi.
Good morning.
Go ahead, keep going.
All right, well, my name's Matías Valero. I'm the DM and creative director of Twin Portals, and with me is...
I'm Scott Hebert. I am also co-creator, producer, and principal grant writer for Twin Portals. Do most of the production side stuff, so... Hey,
yeah.
I'm still real foggy from yesterday. You are still in performance mode. So you keep going. You have the energy this panel needs.
Okay,
Yay!
So our story is that about 7 years ago, we started a podcast. We got together, we've been playing D&D for a while, and we've seen, AC Inc. and other shows. We were big fans of them. We had improv backgrounds and theater backgrounds, and we were like, well, we have the stage training to do this kind of thing. We have some, technical knowledge. Why don't we try making a podcast? It's a thing that many people have said over the last 10 years. Why don't we try making a podcast?
Yeah, especially 2020.
Yes. And so we got together with some of our theater friends and talked about what we wanted to do and what our goals would be. And we ended up putting on a show. We did podcast episodes that we released on Spotify and other platforms. And then every quarter we would do a live show on stage at the Zeitgeist Theater in town. In front of an audience. And we have a really lovely Discord community that's kind of started around the podcast. It's like my main social hub now.
That's nice, by the way. I find that because you have a lot of hubs now, and I accidentally walked in the chat room on you and David having like ExcaliburCon conversation on the Twin Portals chat. I'm like, I feel like I should leave this now. I'm hearing uncomfortable things. So I'm like, I ran out of beer. I'm going. No, yeah.
It's like Cheers. It's where everybody knows your name.
Pretty much. Yeah, we keep it. It's basically chill. The notion of huge growth and exploding downloads and popularity is the idea that happening is no longer there. So the stress of that happening is no longer there. And I'm not a guy who's a natural marketer, and I don't enjoy doing that part of it. So to feel like this is more of a secret podcast at this point, I had that idea this week. I'm like, I actually kind of dig that. Like, we're just kind of doing it for ourselves. We're not gunning for any huge thing. We're not saying we're the biggest, best thing ever. We're this thing that we're just trying hard. And we're trying to continue to produce artistic content. And started small, started at just a table in his dining room, and I watched AC Inc. live out at 2018 in PAX West, and I said, we can do this. I have a Blue Yeti microphone because I was a Twitch streamer, so we just sat that in the middle of the table and turned it to omnidirectional and screamed at it for 12 episodes, and that's how we started. It wasn't more complicated than that. It was a table and one microphone and a hand-me-down computer, and that's how we got going, and that's what got us to all this stuff here.
Yeah. So when we started, like in that session 0 where we were like, what are we doing?
Yes.
We didn't have a plan of like marketing the show dramatically and like making money off of it. Like our main goals were to entertain people and inspire people locally who we could connect with.
And no one else had done it. No one else had ever played a live game of D&D in Duluth before on stage for an audience. And so we're like, let's give this a shot. I mean, if the nerdiest people on the Renegade Improv team can't make this happen, then it's not going to happen. So let's start it, and let's start making this normal.
So for today, what we're hoping to do is just talk about like how we did it, like demystify the process of going from the idea to like producing this thing over the course of 7 years, and give you guys a little like brief skim toolkit of how to do it yourselves if you'd like to. So we were going to kind of split it up between the technical, grant writing, editing side, and the creative side. And
my first piece of advice to demystify the process is just start. Just start. That's it. If you've got a game and you got an idea, talk to the people around and use what you have. You start right now, use what you have, because every action you take is experience. For us, when we said, all right, we've got this table game, we think we can do this, let's try just recording it. Remember I brought in the microphone?
Yeah.
We got everyone's permission. We said, I just want to try setting this up in the middle and see what it would be like. We set it up. No one ever heard it except for me, and it sounded awful because it was in a dining room that was not treated, and no one was trained or thinking about any of this stuff. We were having a great time and had a lot of fun, but it wasn't the best audio content. But just that one exercise gave me a lot of information. It gave me a lot of practical information about the things I was going to need in order to make this sort of happen.
Scott's talked a lot. We both talked recently about the concept of Kaizen. Which is the Japanese.
Yes, I was planning for a trip to Japan, and so I was engrossing myself in the culture, and one of the words I learned was Kaizen, which is, to my understanding, a Japanese business philosophy, which roughly translated means small improvements over a long period of time along the whole chain. So I think Toyota is the most famous practicer of this business philosophy. So everyone from the janitor to the CEO, they're always looking at their process. What can be 0.5% or 1% more efficient? What's a little bit better? What's a way that we can just make this a little bit easier? Not the big, huge jumps right away. Don't think about, leaping 10 feet. Just try to get that one small step. And if you can build those up over a long period of time, that momentum will carry your project further than you're expecting.
So, I mean, like most things in life, that's kind of how it went for us. Start with the mic,
Yep.
Start finding our people, and just start planning out the recorded episodes, the live episodes, and just keep adding and adding and adding.
Yep. Start having the conversations and write the conversations down. Don't be afraid to dream. Brainstorm. Just hang out, talk. It's like, what do you like from that show? Who is your favorite show? If this is your plan to take your D&D game online, who are you trying to emulate? Who are you trying to be like? How can you get there? And a thing that worked for me for inspiration is looking at where your favorite people started. Because Critical Role didn't start with all those shotgun mics and lights and sound people, and Dimension 20 didn't start filling out auditoriums. For mine, Acquisitions Incorporated, I saw the live show in Benaroya Hall in downtown Seattle. It's a 2,200 seat theater, and it was filled. Where they started was in the Penny Arcade office break room, in a really, really small, cramped room with 4 microphones on all sort of janky things. That's how the thing starts. And that's the great time, because you have permission as an artist and as a creator to be as bad as it is. That's it. You're just trying a thing out. You have all the creative freedom in the world. You can see if it works, see if it doesn't. There's nothing riding on it yet. So that's your time to experiment. And so let yourself dream, and then figure out what's the small step that's going to get you closer and closer. What was the first thing they did? They didn't just jump right to the big microphones. They tried some things out. So
we started out pretty experimental with
Yes.
that one bleeding mic, but then you want to give them a little teaser of your grant writing panel, like
Yeah.
what you got into next?
Yes. So, quick story through the first year. We did 12 episodes with one microphone. Somebody told me about arts grants in Minnesota. At that time, in 2018, there were more arts grants really than applicants for the arts money. So someone said, if you just try, and because you're doing live shows for free, you're not charging anybody, this counts as arts programming. We ended up getting the first one on an artist access grant, and then we continued to get more after that. I'm going to do the fastest 45 minutes on grant writing you've ever seen at 1 o'clock. So if you want to hear all about the money side of it and Minnesota, how Minnesota pays artists and how you can get money to do art in Minnesota, come back at 1 o'clock. I'm going to go crazy. You talk about something for a second. My mouth's dry.
Okay. So I'll
Thank
jump
you.
into the creative side of it
Appreciate
a little bit.
it.
So, yeah, I already talked about our guiding philosophy was to entertain and inspire. So we tried to make a show that was very much a home game of D&D, not like tons of audience interaction, not like a really like
Sound effects, not hyper-produced,
Yeah.
not a ton of background music, things like that. Just sort of fly on the wall. What would it be like if you were sitting in a chair over there while we were rolling dice?
but there was editing to it though. Like
Definitely.
we did like what you hear on the
Oh.
Spotify episodes is like a lot of ums and uhs and like tangents and like rules checks that do kind of get cleaned up. So
Yes. Yeah.
Scott was
Edit your stuff. When you record the audio, listen to your audio, and if you are fine with your audio, if you're fine with the pauses and the discussions and things like that, and if that's the experience you want to transmit, then do that. For me, I like a cleaner sound, but also I did it so long that I realized that ums and pauses and ticks of teeth sucking is natural, and we are used to hearing that, and we filter that out naturally. So I started hyper perfectionist, like taking everyone out and getting notes about all the ticks and ums and things like that. But as I realized, no one was really noticing except for me. So I started to gradually let some more of those slide in.
Yeah.
Was that the question?
That was part
My
of it.
brain is fried right now, man. I'm sorry.
Scott's coming from a bacon bonanza last night.
I ate a lot of bacon and chocolate yesterday, and my brain's not working this super good.
Just a lot of salt.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll talk about the creative side of it a little bit. Getting into like how I prep for an episode of Twin Portals. Since it's not exactly a home game, like there's when you're recording, you want to try to keep it somewhat tight, especially for the live shows. When you're recording in front of an audience, you can't really have dead time. You can't stop to check the rules, or just like sit and chat and eat snacks like you would in a home game.
And finding a button, how to get out of the episode,
Yeah.
especially a live one.
If you have like an intermission, you want to have like an Act 1 cliffhanger, an Act 2 climax and conclusion, like go through the whole arc ideally in a satisfying way.
Yeah.
You also don't know what your audience's background is, so you want to try to write things that are general enough or like related to the real world, or like just people's understanding of life enough that they don't need a lot of explanation. I would say our first season of Twin Portals was more grounded. Our second season of Twin Portals kind of got out there, but that's how
We started to have
stories go.
fever dreams off of cough syrup, I think.
That was like the first live show.
Never mind.
But anyway, so like just session prep, what I would use and what I would do. I started out with just binders full of paper, just brainstorming and writing like crazy and having like a million different alternatives of what they could do. The first season of Twin Portals was based heavily on the Waterdeep Dragon Heist module of D&D, which helped a lot. I think some people lean away from using pre-published material, but I think it's a great place if you want to save some time, but still make a campaign your own. You can start with what's pre-written and then just iterate from there, improvise, make it your own, pick which characters you like, which encounters you like, and then just make it something cool.
I just want to interject. Maybe as me being a young player, there's not a ton of D&D experience when we did the Dragon Heist campaign. I have that book on my shelf now, and there is a special tie to it now. When you play that campaign, you have those memories. Now they're on YouTube, they're digital somehow. You can go back and listen to you having those memories, and those characters from that book. Then when you look at them, for me that was just, I was like, how did this happen from this character? I recognize the names, but then the paper was betraying me. Like, that's not what happened.
It's also really fun to like find other people's campaigns set in the same book and be like, what? Like that character did
Neat.
that?
Sorry, that was me just seeing behind the curtain for a small moment. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, so I started out with paper and I moved from there to Obsidian MD, which is like a desktop-based kind of personal wiki tool. There's things like Notion is similar. Or like OneNote. There are a lot of different tools, but I prefer Obsidian just because it's very simple. You can like link up pages and have like each character's name be a hyperlink within your notes and start to like reference different sessions and encounters and stat blocks and whatever else. It's a cool tool. There's lots of people in the TTRPG space that have guides on YouTube about how to set up Obsidian to like track all your world building in your document. And I could talk about that for a while. It's super nerdy and fun.
It looks,
I love it.
to me, it still looks like a spell book. Like you're a wizard and I'm still the barbarian. I'm like, how are you making this work?
Well, I will say, like, I got like really into it. Like, I think it was probably in the pandemic. Like, many people found their hobbies,
Data organization was yours.
That and like digital collectible card games. But anyway, and Animal Crossing. And I will say, like, as time went on, I got less all about like linking every single character and thing and situation, and more just like having like my template for each episode. And what I would do is I'd have the brainstorm first, where I would just write down all my ideas as I thought of them, like in the weeks leading up to the episode, and then I'd listen to the previous episodes and jot down any important notes, character situations that I thought would be relevant for what's coming up. Then I would put together an arc of the episode. So I'd put together like a 2-act structure and like 10 to 20 encounters of like where I think it might go, what might be fun. And then I'd like refer to the brainstorm and like try to pull ideas from there and kind of flesh them out. And then I would put together a dramatis personae. Like, here are all the NPCs. Like just so I could remember better when I'm in the episode. Like, okay, here's all the NPCs that I've named. Here are like anything that might come up in the episode, just so I can refer to it and give the impression that I remember everything, when really I don't. I just have like a name written down, like Chunky Brewster, and I'm like, who's that? Okay, interesting. Okay, yes, that guy.
I could have used any of those documents at any point during the campaign. Like, that would have been amazing.
I shared some stuff with you guys.
I was going to ask if the D&D players struggle to remember those details. I'm a terrible person for writing down details, and I don't know if it's because I've been producing while I'm playing D&D for the last 8 years, but all of the details go out of my brain immediately.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's one thing we added later on too. Is we record once a month, and we're all like adults with kids and we're busy, and so like trying to get back into it, I would send at least like a day or two in advance. I would send like a 1-page kind of summary of where we were at, just so you guys can review and ask questions, which I think helped a lot.
one of the things we started doing, not early on, but eventually, we started doing recaps before each digital episode, and especially before the live shows. It just helps to give everybody a sense of where we are in the story, and yes, more for the players, I would say, than for the audience, to let the players know. And then I asked Matías, it's one of those things that cleans up a table game into a produced game. If you have the facts, if everyone understands a certain number of facts before you even start, then you're not explaining it in the first 10, 15 minutes. Everyone knows it, and that's just so much less work. It's cleaner, everyone understands, and now they're all reacting to the same stimulus in whichever way is best for their character. Yeah. So, like, those pre-episode breakdowns were very useful, whenever I read them.
Yeah.
I'm a bad person.
So from Obsidian, that was like my personal wiki. Like a year and a half ago, I started getting into the West Marches campaign style. I just think it's super exciting and cool. The idea of like a shared world where like you have multiple DMs and like 20, 30 players and they all kind of like interact with the world and keep track of the evolutions of it. I was like, this sounds amazing, like a great way to build a community. I think there's one guy doing something similar over in the RPG room during this convention, like a consistent setting across his games. And I'd love to do more of that in Duluth. And we did it for like a half a year before we kind of like, I got busy and I had a kid.
2 now.
That was the second one that interrupted that one, yeah. But anyway, it was really fun and I like to bring it back. What I used for that was a tool called Legend Keeper, which is an online sort of like cloud-based version of Obsidian MD. It lets you have a personal wiki online and have multiple DMs or players. You can have like a public-facing side and a private side, so DMs can keep notes, players can read what you want them to read. And it has really cool like tabletop role-playing game centric tools like a timeline tool, a map tool with like Google Map pins on it. You can like lay it all out. It's very cool, and I've used it for a couple different. I'm developing a card game right now, and like me and the devs keep our like lore bible for the game that we're making on Legend Keeper too, just so we can kind of add to it together, and that's very fun too. Chrono CCG, by the way, look it up. Plug.
I was gonna say, does anybody have any questions? There's been a lot of information real fast. You want any questions right now? I don't mind breaking up. We got kind of a free flow thing, so anybody.
I think you've already touched on it, but I assume the hardest part is still scheduling.
We were just going to touch on that. That was my next thing, scheduling. Yeah,
Yes.
How far out do people schedule their D&D games? Couple months? Mm-hmm. Every other Saturday? You're a hero?
We have one that's trying for every Tuesday.
Every
Doesn't
Tuesday?
always work.
All right, but
Yeah.
regular. So what a regular.
Our table has a rule that we just try and block off Tuesdays, and if there's something specific that somebody can't be there for on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
we just skip that one.
Yeah.
It works out pretty okay.
Yeah. So we were producing art for the state of Minnesota technically because we were grant funded. So I had responsibilities to get all of this out, and I signed a contract saying I would do that. So I always took on extra stress. I mean, I tried to not spread it to the cast, but I'm not good at that either. So I'm sort of like, hi, I got the blood plague in me. What do you want? Sometimes a year, sometimes a full year out. We would do up to 6 months at a time because we tried to space out the live shows for just audience enjoyment. Like have a couple of months off and then we can have some more things happen to our characters and have a new situation happen. So it just made sense to make it quarterly. So that means locking down the venue 4 times a year, which means they have shows going on 4 times a year. We can get in there. So it became more and more difficult. Then people with kids and people are getting back into theater. Like we all kind of stopped doing theater for a little bit. Well, maybe not Beth.
Well, like COVID.
Yeah, COVID happened.
Yeah.
So people's schedules wanted to get filled back up again. So yeah, up to a year out we did sometimes because we would get the live shows locked down first to make sure we could get everybody there for that, and then we would try to do the stuff in between wherever. But yeah, ridiculous. It's way too long to ask somebody to make a commitment for one day because that locks. You can't take a vacation for that week then. Other things that come up. I hated making people make that commitment that far out. I could do it because I got nothing going on.
You're just a very humble person. I thought it was great that we would schedule it that far out because it gave everyone the flexibility to plan their lives around it. Like I feel like when you play D&D, like the two best ways to schedule are either to have a consistent date where you're like,
Yep.
okay, Tuesday no matter what, and whoever shows up, we just go, or like every other week, or you schedule like 6 months out like we did because that way everybody like there's no excuses, you know, like you got the date down.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I mean, still
it's
things
gonna
come
work
up, lives change in
Yeah,
6
true.
months, certainly. So
I think we got pretty lucky, honestly. Like we almost never had like
House of
someone else.
Cards lasted a very long time. I'm like that's a community theater to begin with is a House of Cards. If you put in a 2-month production and your budget's like $3,000 or something like that, I'm just throwing numbers out. You have one person go out in like Tech Week, you're in big trouble. That's a true House of Cards. So same thing with us. Like if we had no backup DM, we had no backup producer, anything like that. So
Luckily, our team was like the most committed theater people
Oh, yeah. We were method performers for this, for sure.
Kendra and Justin and Beth.
Just staying in bubbles.
And Robert, I mean, it's literally the people that like do all the theater.
Yeah. So that's how far out we scheduled sometimes. We would go up to a year just out of necessity. I don't like it. I don't like having to do that. But for a producer producing a show, the consistency was necessary. The goal that I still, in fact, have is to have a larger roster so that we can have people come in and out. But then people are like, I don't want to miss D&D. That's the thing, is that people get that emotional connection and they have FOMO for it, which means that now you have to deal with that too. So it's tough. It's definitely a balancing act. It takes some work. So the West Marches campaign style, though, I was also very excited for the same reason. I wanted to have a roster of personalities who could come in and just do it like that. So kind of like a wrestling roster. You just bring it in. Okay, now you two are working together this week, and then you back this month. Things like that. So maybe in the future we're seeing how it goes. So it's been kind of an odd year for Twin Portals, kind of a transition year.
You see some of that in like conventions around like Acking or like the C team or whatever. They'll have like their pool of maybe 8 players, and like depending on who's available for a convention, they'll bring them in to do a one shot. It's kind of similar.
Yep.
But keep the story going.
Yeah.
How I structured our campaigns, I'll get into that. So we've had 2 seasons. I already touched on the first one. It was based on Waterdeep Dragon Heist. For the second season, they're like 30 episode seasons ish.
Not planned that way, by the way. It was just like, do we call it now?
Well, I kind of like once you get like maybe a third of the way into it, you start to like see where the end might be. That's kind of for me, yeah.
I never knew. I'm like, it's January. Are we closing this season off in when? March?
And I'd be like, ooh, we'll find out. Something mysterious for the players. Yeah, it depends on what choices.
That's what producers' chat is like. Anyways, sorry.
Well, so the first one, the ending of the Dragon Heist campaign was a good ending point.
Yeah.
For the second season, though, I was, as a writer, it's like, where do you go from here? You've had the city-based adventure. I got a lot of feedback from the players about like what would be fun for an adventure, where they'd like to go. And I tried to find some themes that I wanted to kind of focus it on. Like good themes make good stories, I've been told. And so I tried to kind of circle back on these ideas and kind of explore them from different angles in season 2. And so it was a lot more homebrew, a lot of stuff I just made up, as well as occasional like one-shot encounters from different source books and online material for season 2. I relied on the Radiant Citadel book a lot because that book is fantastic. I love it. And yeah, I picked these themes of like heroism and like truth and justice and like how do you define what a hero is and what is true, and kind of kept examining them from different angles, and the players had to figure it out as we went. Did you pick up on those themes, Scott?
Just like, I want to eat slime.
Yeah.
That's essentially my theme.
Yeah. It's very high-minded on the DM side, but being a DM, you have all these ideas.
And then we run and chase a rabbit.
And then your players burn
for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
How bad were we?
How bad
were we? I mean, what was the worst case of we went off your script, you weren't prepared for this? Do you have anything that was...
He has a lot of decisions.
I know.
What's
just think of like your favorite 3 or something.
Oh, man.
You don't have to spell them all out.
I don't know. I think one of the bigger wild cards would have been Robert Lee and his Mr. E character.
Oh, definitely. That dude's...
yeah, like he had his dragon piss element, which was this like herbal concoction that made everything hallucinate.
I think this was Robert's first D&D game when he recorded with us.
Yeah.
That was his actual first. We worked with him at Renegade Improv, and we knew he was a great storyteller, and he could create characters, and he could commit, and he always kind of wanted to try the thing with the math rocks, and it worked really well.
Yeah, and I would say...
The different energy, that was the thing. It was a new energy at the table.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep. Like the first time you played, there was a lot of like kind of wild cards, but after that, it was easy to kind of like build it around his sense of wildness and give him more freedom. But I don't know. Honestly, nothing you guys did was ever like, oh God, like throw it all out. I need to do something new. It was more just like that branch of the story is gone. Let's focus on that one instead. So I always gave myself a few just in case.
Nobody was like inherently a murder hobo in our game. Like no one really had those. Let's break it to break it, except maybe me, and I tried to control it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to play up the dumb aspect. Since I knew I was going to...
You were so busy, yeah.
Yeah, I knew I was producing, and I was going to be producing and listening and hyper-fixated on all the things except for story and math and numbers and feelings and things like that. So I deliberately created the barbarian character to have a lower intelligence so that I would never have to roleplay a smarter person than I am. So anytime Scott then came up with something bright, I'm like... Wait, should I? No, Scoot wouldn't know that one. Oh wait, maybe I'm just naturally an 8 in. Scott is like, I didn't know which way it went, but it was very nice to kind of take that element and just use it for the character. Again, young D&D player. When I started it, I was all about, I want to smash things, let's get into more fights. I wish we had minis so that I could show you how strong I am.
You took like 4 of your int and just devoted it to the equipment, so you can actually roleplay as a barbarian better.
No, it ended up working out pretty good. I was surprised how I changed as a player, like becoming more interested in sort of the chill elements and things like that. I mean, it's still fun to play smashy, but then I realized that with our game, the way it was going, like one round takes forever to get through, and when you're in front of people, you're like, oh my god, this is taking so long. Yeah, what's up?
How many people do you have in your group?
On stage?
Yeah.
We've topped out at 5 players for a studio show, but 4 players for a live show, just because I'm kind of insistent that once you get to a 5th player, finding time to communicate with each other and not have it overlapping in microphones makes it just way easier for everybody to understand. It feels like everyone still has a chance to talk. And then we've only had 2, like Robert and John Brophy were the only 2 people, the guest players we've had so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
More to come.
Yeah, we got new players coming up. Our next live show is Saturday, September 6th. We are at Studio 4 at the Depot, the old underground space. It's at the corner of 5th Avenue West and Michigan Street. So we'll be doing that 6:30 doors, 7 o'clock, free show. Doing that again. So that's, our 19th live show. We're changing setup, we're changing cast, we're changing venue, we're changing all the things. So I'm going to be super high strung on that night. I'm going to be flying around. So come watch me crash out on stage. He gets to drive it.
It's going to be a blast.
I set up like a projector with a screen. I've gone full on. We've got webcams facing down into dice trays because that was one of my things for the live show. Is my favorite thing is all of the audience getting to react at the same time. It needs to be that shared experience. And the thing that keeps that away is if you can't see what the number is when it comes up. You need to be able to react in the same second, or at least very, very quickly. You need to have that same experience with everyone else at the table. Otherwise, you're more observers, and that's not all the way what I want you to be. I want you to be part of the table, in the right way that doesn't bother me too much. And don't bring loud snacks. Don't bring chips. Don't bring the crinkly bags, Matías.
Do I bring crinkly bags?
You bring the blueberries,
Oh, the
and
blueberries,
the little crunchy
yeah.
thing.
I brought blueberries to every episode. It's just kind of my thing. I feel like if I didn't, it'd be bad luck or something.
Anybody else got questions? What's up?
What's the most interesting ethical problem you all face as a table?
In character?
In
Out of character? Can't tell you about that one.
You accused me of, well, not accused, but asked me how far up the war crimes list of the Geneva Convention I was willing to go when I was gassing somebody for something. I said a scale of 1 to 10. I'm like 7.5. Let's make this like the guards are going to notice, and there's probably going to be a trailing episode later on or something like that. But for ethical, we kind of a Saturday morning podcast, I would describe. We didn't do too many challenging themes. We had a session 0 to start back in 2018, and we said we're not interested in we don't want anything based on like a racial war or anything like that. We kept sexuality for the most part pretty much out of it. It was just never anything that anyone was interested in exploring. So. And never any PvP type stuff. We never got into things like that. I mean, there were conflicts about how to resolve the situation or things like that, but never anything that got too challenging in game.
I would say it was pretty light. Like episode 2, I think Beth's character Ilka cut off an ear or something from someone and kept it.
Good lord!
I'm taking a trophy, and I was like, that's dark.
I have no memory. That's bad.
And I would say that's about as dark as we got. A little bit of just kind of not being afraid to murder somebody or take things from people if you needed to.
I kind of always wanted to be PG-13 improv. I don't mind sexual jokes as long as it's innuendo, but I don't need descriptions and I don't need crude wordplay. I'm all about. We can have all sorts of fun, and I hate puns so much, in my core. And
this is why we get along so well.
Justin was across the table from me as often as possible, and every time he made one, I was so mad, and it was so good because the reaction was true. It was a genuine, honest, you are annoying me with your dumb wordplay. That's it. I mean, that's as long as it's real and everyone believes me and everyone believes Justin's having a great time. That's a great little moment, and that's all it takes. I mean, that's the thing. Finding those little moments and figuring out those little character twerks. It's one of the reasons why I was and still am very against trying to do it remotely. My first campaign was over Roll20, and it's a good way to play D&D. But for me, I'm too much into live theater. My background is all in live theater, which means instant reactions and, if possible, crowd reaction. And trying to do that, trying to play Twin Portals while looking at Justin or Kendra or Beth or Matías on the screen, it was just so empty. Like, I need to have that quick stuff personality-wise. It just makes it's so much more living. It's the life in it all. So it's all about gathering. Hey.
Yeah. So one thing that strikes me is like, your reluctance for puns has also kind of bleeds into the character of Scoot. And so it kind of adds to the interplay.
Character of Scoot.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what are some of the ways that, like, the player's personality bleeds into the characters? Not just yourself.
I think all of the ways. I think we all did therapy on Spotify. It was just
I'm not sure how far any of you were from your actual selves. Like, Beth got to be a little darker. Kendra was a little quieter, maybe, as Zay.
I play, well, for me, speaking only to myself, I played my sections of life, it turns out. I think I played probably like 0 to 18, 0 to 25 if a person develops normally, but like 0 to 42 for me, Scott, personally. That's just the way it went, and I just used my natural emotional reactions because I couldn't get too invested in things again because I'm constantly split focused. So I just I guess that is my reaction. We'll do that one. Yeah.
When I was role playing as Sally the mafioso pigeon, I felt very true to myself. That's kind of my inner monologue, so it was nice to get that.
We got 4 minutes before 45.
Oh, do we?
Does anybody have? Yeah.
It's not a question, but it's funny you mentioned the ear thing, because the campaign I'm currently in, we have somebody collecting teeth.
Yes.
Collecting teeth.
And how did that make you feel?
It's hilarious now.
When you kind of just with stuff like that, it's like you keep rolling, right? Like there's a lot of trauma in D&D that you just kind of like breeze over.
We get for like dice that is made to look like teeth.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
At this point, it's just a thing now.
So the whole campaign's going to turn teeth and dentist themed.
Yeah.
Evil tooth fairy.
Right? Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God, the Tooth Fairy mob, or just, I mean, Tooth Fairy's Fae.
Oh yeah, tooth fairies, man. You gotta be careful.
We talked about the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus both kind of being Fae creatures
Yes.
at one point. And we did a episode. So we're kind of in a transition with new gear, and instead of doing story episodes 12 times a year, we're doing the live show story episodes and trying to do personal content where we talk about ourselves a little bit, because it's the thing we haven't done in 6 years is kind of talk about ourselves. So
and just like more like informational, like
a
educational.
little, yeah. So the first one was kind of our introduction and a test to the gear. That one's funny because the gear cuts out halfway through, and you get to look at my face, and you can see genuine hatred and rage in my eyes, and I'm just staring off into the middle distance. And Matías is like, "So how do you want to get back into this?" That was the first episode. Second episode was business stuff, how he's funded Chrono and that stuff, how I've done stuff with grant writing, and then third one was parenthood with Matías, Justin, and Beth, who all have kids, and I was off mic, so they got to have this great conversation about having kids and being parents and trying to continue to do all these things, and how you start to infuse your nerdy passions in a good way into these kids so that they can continue to do it. So
what works?
It was a great conversation, and just talking about it now, like, I must be maturing because that excited me more than getting together and telling the D&D story, because I had done that for a long, and I'm looking forward to doing it again in September, but taking that break and just talking about us and letting people know that these things help in bigger ways was it's just so nice. I think this one's going to be the August release, and then the live show will be the September release, and then we're going to come back in October and doing something completely different. We're just going to hang out and drink and paint minis and talk about this and talk about the live show and talk about the transition. It's just going to be pure hangout time. We're just going to have for the first time ever, we're just going to be hanging out and be like, yes, and just critique each other's work and just see what it's like, because we've never done that.
We're exploring.
Yeah. Any other questions before we get going? Anybody else want to know anything about Twin Portals? I got stickers and little small knickknacks and things up here if you want them.
Do you want to share any like final like lessons learned, like the big things, like number one? I had some stuff written down. Like just if if you want to get into making stuff like this, just don't overcomplicate it as much as you can. Like when you start out, find your equipment that you like to use, find your people that you trust, and just do it. You'll
Start
figure it
where
out.
you are, use what you have, do what you know. You're going to learn. You're going to figure out what works and what doesn't work. You're going to change what doesn't work, and you're going to build on what does. That's how this thing all starts. I mean, we literally just started with one 3-year-old Blue Yeti microphone in omnidirectional mode. It sounds terrible for the first 12 episodes of Twin Portals. Go listen to it. It's our portfolio.
It's not that bad.
It's
Scott has very high standards.
It shows how we've come along. I mean, the last shows where we've got the cameras and the good microphones and all that stuff, that's where my dream started back in 2017, 2018. I pictured that when I watched Acquisitions Incorporated, the series. They shot it in their basement, had all their gear. That's what I wanted to start with, but I didn't have all the gear or all the knowledge, so I had to build it up. So I put that Blue Yeti microphone and I said, hey, can we try recording one session like this to see how it sounds? And then I just kept going.
Yeah.
That's how it went. What else you
Here's
got?
my other bullet points I had. Number
Yes,
one.
please.
Number 2, build trust and communication from day one.
Yep.
Just keep an open channel with your players and with your audience, and never shut people out.
Have a session 0, make sure everyone has input on what's going to be part of the campaign so everyone can feel that they have some ownership in it.
Yeah, if there's ever like a miscommunication with a player, talk to them.
Stitch in time saves 9.
Yes. Number 3, a Discord community was super valuable. Like, it wasn't like part of our like big concept when we made it. We were like, yeah, we'll have a Discord, but like, I feel like that's kind of the heart of this show, and like having a creative endeavor and having a place for people to collect and just like live life together outside of the thing that you're doing is really valuable. And Discord is great because it's not social media, so it's a place to just hang out without the algorithm getting in the way. They might be going like public soon, so watch out for that.
So we'll change to
There
something
are
else
alternatives,
soon.
yes, also. And otherwise, just like we said, like the constant small iteration.
Just start it up. Start it up. Just try the thing. Be brave enough to suck at something for a little bit. Just be brave enough to try the thing and fail. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe have fun. Maybe you get a campaign going longer. I mean, one thing for sure, we all said this was great to have something that you're dedicated to because it made sure everybody was committed to the campaign then. So imagine a campaign where it's not like, oh, I had a chance to have a date or something that night, or something this movie came out, things like that. Those things didn't obstruct. People made it the priority. Everybody in the crew stood up and said, all right, we're gonna come here and we're gonna be here for this. So, and that's how the thing gets done. So, thanks everybody for hanging out. This will be on YouTube. So check out the Twin Portals page if you want to see it. And then the grant writing panel will be on Scootalong's page shortly after that. So, anyways,
1 p.m.
1 p.m. I'll be in here. Yeah, doing grant stuff.
And we'll be around all day, so
Yes.
love to chat.
Twin Portals is produced and edited by Scott Hebert, and the Twin Portals co-creator and dungeon master is Matías Valero. Thank you so much to the crew at ExcaliburCon for hosting us during their convention in Duluth this past August. We had a blast both days of the convention, and it's always such a joy to meet fans, new and old, face to face. If you have any questions for the panel or from the panel, reach out to us on Discord or feel free to email us at twinportalsgame@gmail.com. Our next live show is right around the corner, Saturday, September 6th at Studio 4 by the Depot. The entrance is located at the corner of 5th Avenue West and Michigan Street, right between 2 surface parking lots. The east side doors will be open at 6:30 p.m., the show starts at 7, and it is once again completely free. So spend that ticket money at the concession stand and support our host, the Minnesota Ballet. Our players on stage for Saturday night include myself, Matías, Beth Brophy, funniest person in the Northland, Robert Lee, and prolific Twin Port stage actor, Jenny Ross. New campaign, new characters, starting at level 3, it's got all the makings of a good imagination time. Scott Hebert is a fiscal year 2025 recipient of a Creative Individuals grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board. This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation by the Minnesota State Legislature and by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. Thank you to Leland Campana for use of his song of Vernon as our theme song. Thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board and Arrowhead Regional Arts Council for all they do for the arts in Minnesota. And once again, thank you all so much for listening to Twin Portals.